All right, last example for 3-2. We're going to do the human memory model, and it's modeled down here at 75 minus 6 natural log of t plus 1. All right, so we want to find the average score on the original exam when t equals 0. So let's take a look here. If we do A, we're going to say 75 minus 6 natural log of 0 plus 1. All right, let's clean this up. 75 minus 6 natural log of 1. What's the natural log of 1? If you said 0, you had a good memory. Natural log of 1 is 0 from the properties. 6 times 0 is 0, so 75 minus 0 is still 75. So at the beginning here, we're going to have an average score of 75. And from here on out, we're just going to plug in the numbers appropriately. 75 minus 6 natural log of, plug in 2 for t, plus 1. Order of operations, if we do this right, we're going to say 75 minus 6 natural log of 3. What's the natural log of 3? I have no idea until I plug it into my calculator. All right, so natural log of numbers other than e, we're going to need to plug it into the calculator to figure out what it is. So I've done that calculation, and natural log of 3 turns out to be approximately 1.0986. And so we do that subtraction and we get 68.4. So the same thing happens here on C. We'll say 75 minus 6 natural log and plug in 6 for t. So this is going to be 75 minus 6 times the natural log of 7, which happens to be 75 minus, and natural log of 7 is 1.94. 59, so 6. Plug those in, do the math right, and you're going to get 63.3, approximately, of course. This is an approximation. All right, so that's what we're doing here. We're just plugging in numbers. See if you can do this for yourself for our last example, 97. Pause, press play when you're ready to go. All right, first things first, it does say use a graphing utility to graph the model over the specified domain. So let me flip over to our graphing calculator and plug this in. We'll take a look at what this ends up with. Y equals, let me clear that off, 80 minus 17 log t plus 1. So t is going to be x in this problem. All right, and so we do want to have our window. It says we want to go from 0 to 12. And remember, t is our x in this problem, 0 to 12. And what about our y values? What's the biggest thing that we could have here? If you said 80, you are right on the ball here, because it's going to work the same way as the example problem, where this is going to end up turning into 0. And I'm going to set this at 0 because I know it's going to be a logarithmic function. It's going to start decreasing. And so it'll look like that. So that would be your sketch of the graph right there, where we're starting at 80 and decreasing. And so let's flip back over to our problems here and figure out the answers for B, C, and D. On B, what's the average score on the original exam? We already talked about this. This is going to be 80. And so for C and D, let's plug these in. 80 minus 17 log. 4 plus 1 is 5. And on this one, we're going to have 80 minus 17 log, and then we'll have 10 plus 1, which is 11. And instead of going through the calculations here, I want to show you a shortcut. Seeing as we've already plugged these into our calculator, let's just go ahead and use our table to solve these for us. So I'm going to hit table set. I'm going to want to start with 5 here, and because that's what I'm plugging in for the t, and I want to go up to 11. So why don't I just count by 3s here, because then my table will say 5, 8, and 11. So for 5, my answer for C, what's the average score? Oh, I apologize. It's 4 and 10 that I want to look at. Change this to 4. If we plug in 4, and then it adds 1 to 5, we get 68.118. And if we plug in 10, which turns into 11 after we add the 1. If x is 10, or t in this case is 10, then our answer is 62.296. All right, hopefully you got those. If you didn't, please remember to ask me questions in class when I see you.